Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. It feels really weird to say that because I don't think I've shown my face on these airwaves in a couple of months.
Yeah,
But I am Ron Luce, in
who
case you
the
forgot who
heck
I
is
was.
this guy?
Yeah, who the hell is this guy? I'm joined by none other than the great Mr. Rich Eberwein. Playoff baseball, a Cubs win, Rich. It's the best Tuesday of the year, if you ask me.
100%. I mean, we got the momentum. We got that game. We got that first win in the first game of the playoffs. I mean, first time since 2017, the Chicago Cubs have a playoff victory, baby. The vibes are good. The vibes are so freaking good right now, and I'm feeling good about the rest of the series. I think we're in good shape. So I don't know. The vibes are really high right now.
Definitely, and I think we're going to continue to build on your vibes and why we are so high on this team, Rich. Man, it just feels good to be talking about the Cubs again.
Yeah.
For those that are curious, I'm not dead. I didn't go away. Just a new face of leadership. Mr. Nick Hudson is kind of the point man on a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Feels good to be back with everybody, though, as we actually have fall baseball for the first time in a long time. I got real used to going straight to Bears and Blackhawks, but it feels good to be on these airwaves come at the end of September going into October. Rich, I'm right there with you, man. Everything that needed to go right did. There was arguably opportunity for them to win by even more runs potentially, if not
Yep.
for some really, really big breaks for the Padres at certain points. Nonetheless, we're feeling good, just like Darren says here. Great win, but they got to finish it tomorrow. But we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We do want to appreciate the win that was today. Jeremiah says he's been cubbing all over the place since 2 p.m. and a happy Tuesday to you, Daniel Barry. Rich, let's get right into this thing. I know you were fired up. We mentioned in the pre-show as we talked about things. You wanted to talk about Matthew Boyd's day and just how everything played out for the Cubs starter. Take it away, my friend. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I mean, Matthew Boyd was making me cry a little bit yesterday when he was talking about his how his grandpa was a Cubs fan. You know, one of the reasons my entire family is Cubs fans is because of my grandpa. So like he's got this like nice connection to the Chicago Cubs. So it was kind of, as shaky as he's been over the last like month of the regular season, it was cool to see him get the ball in game one. And I feel like it worked out pretty well. You know, he got into trouble a little bit in the second, or I think it was the first inning there. Second inning? I don't know. When
Second.
Xander Bogaerts hit that double, drove in Jackson Merrill. So he got into a little bit of trouble, but multiple times today, he pitched out of jams and got out of the inning when there was guys on third base specifically. He just locked in when he needed to, and he got the job done. It was he kept the ball in the yard, didn't give up any home runs. I was kind of mentioning it to you in the pregame show. It was like, I think the whole plan here from the beginning was to make sure that Matthew Boyd did not see the start, this lineup more than twice. I think that's the plan that the Craig Counsell and the Cubs had going into this game. They were going to go to the bullpen when Tatis came up for the third time. It's exactly what they did. And they took advantage of the fact that, the top of that lineup, their big boppers are right-handed batters, excuse me. And they brought in Daniel Palencia to throw 100-mile-an-hour cheese at them, and it worked to perfection. So I think, everything kind of fell into place. It was a little shaky, obviously. He didn't go scoreless, but got them into the fifth inning, only gave up 4 hits, 1 earned run. And I think he just kind of gave it his all. And he gave the Cubs a fantastic opportunity to win this game, and that's exactly what they did.
Absolutely. And you mentioned too how they utilized the bullpen following Boyd, right? What a change of pace. Matthew Boyd with kind of the 3/4 arm slot, lefty, throws hard enough with his fastball, but isn't blowing you away. And then you have to turn around and watch a righty who's going to blow 100 by you.
Yeah.
Right off the jump.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of fascinating how they used Daniel Palencia right after Matthew Boyd, but I thought Matthew Boyd was good. I think this is the thing about Boyd. You mentioned that connection. to the team. And I think that's why a lot of people have really grasped onto Matthew Boyd over the course of the season. Obviously, he had a really good first half, sputtered a little bit in the second half, still had an overall really solid campaign for the Cubs. It's that little extra now that has made fans really start to adore this guy. But you can tell he was just giving it his all. This is a good Padres team. Like, I think I don't want people to understate them as a team. It's a very good ball club. Now, at one point, they were kind of giving the Dodgers a run for their money for that division.
Yeah. Up until the end there in September, they were still at one point like a game and a half back in September. So, credit to the Padres. They are a very good team.
Yeah, credit to them indeed. And, for him to allow the Merrill double and then Bogarts comes and smokes one to the wall, and it's like, oh, shit, here we go. Man on third with the overthrow, no outs. Boyd did a masterful job with trying not to give up hard content. Got bailed out by Dansby Swanson on the first one. But the little blooper in the foul territory that's handled by Shaw, and then just being able to get the routine grounder for Swanson to get out of that jam. It might not look pretty in the box score, but it was gritty. It was tough. And it was just, he battled. And that's all the Cubs need these starters to do right now is just battle and give that defense behind you a chance and give the bats a chance to answer. So I agree. I think masterful work by Matthew Boyd today. And I think just as masterful, Rich, was that bullpen. You mentioned it and just how they were deployed. They were nails. Absolute nails for the Cubs. And if you go by the apples to apples of the team's bullpens, these are two really good bullpens. And sir, your incredible meme, perhaps describing it perfectly, of how these two bullpens are assembled, but the type of results that they're getting at the end.
Yeah, I mean the Tiger Woods John Daly meme just came to mind when I was watching this game. So it's like, the Padres swung a massive trade, traded the #1 prospect in baseball for Mason Miller, who's obviously a consistent 100-mile-an-hour thrower. They have Robert Suarez. They have arguably 3 or 4 guys who can be a closer in the big leagues. So they have like this juggernaut bullpen that everybody kind of agrees is top 1 or 2 in the league. And the Cubs have all these like 35-year-old plus dudes that like a few of them the team took flyers on, and a couple of them, Brad Keller, Drew Pomerantz, are guys who very recently were dudes that were thinking about quitting baseball. And all of a sudden they're just out here getting outs, and to them too, and Andrew Kittredge and Daniel Palencia contributed to 4 shutout innings, 4 2/3 shutout innings for the Chicago Cubs today. And it was cool. It was just a cool dynamic to see these two very different bullpens come together and fight against each other. And the Cubs bullpen arguably looked a little bit better. It was very cool.
How about Drew Pomerantz pitching the top of the 7th, only for Mason Miller to come out and just piss missile 103 out the gun?
Such very different guys. I mean, 103-mile-an-hour cutters, nonetheless. Like, who the hell does that out of the shadows too? That was another thing today. Is like at that point the pitcher's mound was in the sun and the hitters were in the shade, and it's like, man, can you imagine not being able to see that well? 103-mile-an-hour cutter with movement coming at you, like that's some nasty work right there. But Cubs got it done.
Makes that 89-mile-per-hour slider look that much nastier as well. And you saw some ugly swings on that pitch as well, especially as he got Pico Armstrong to end his outing for the day. Man, it's truly such a night and day difference of the bullpen. And you're right, that is kind of what's cool. And I was telling you, one of the kind of, I think the theme of this game for me personally is it's a tough, it's a gritty, not everything went your way. You had to get a hard-earned insurance run late, but you did what it was needed to scrape across and get a huge game 1 victory, right? Naturally, being up in the series first is always beneficial, just statistically speaking, right? Probability speaking, winning that first game is insurmountable for a lot of teams, and it's important. They got it done. And again, the Daniel Palencia, who, Cubs thought they had a closer, and then he gets hurt, and it's like, well, shit, what are we going to do now? Brad Keller steps up, becomes that guy at the end of the pen, and rather than Craig Counsell try to, if it ain't broke, if he's not trying to fix something that isn't broke, he goes ahead and trots out Palencia for 5 outs.
Yeah.
Real masterful use to change of pace. And then again, to your point, kind of a ragtag crew down the stretch, Pomeranz, Kittredge, and Keller to get it done in the final 3 innings.
Yeah, it was interesting to see Palencia out there so early. They're kind of using him as like a bridge guy, right? Pitch more than 1 inning, but still only 17 pitches. But yeah, that 100-mile-an-hour, after seeing Matthew Boyd, it worked out really well. And then, yeah, credit to Brad Keller, man. Like, I seriously question if the Cubs are even in the playoffs if they don't pick up that option on Brad Keller, because the Cubs signed him to a minor league contract in spring training. And although he pitched pretty well in spring training this year, it was not a foregone conclusion that he would even make the roster because he had an opt-out on his deal. I remember at the time, like, we were like, man, that's going to be a roster crunch decision. Like, do you go with Brad Keller? Because he's been pretty bad over his last 6 years. He hadn't been a good pitcher. And he said it himself after today's game. It was, another, like, kind of one of those emotional moments where he was a few years ago thinking about stepping away from the game because he was not being successful as a starter. Here we are. I seriously doubt that the Cubs are even in this position without him, because think of all the games that he held in close, all the close leads that he held, recorded holds in for the Cubs this year, and then down the stretch in September saves. So that to me is like one of the most pivotal decisions that the Cubs made this year. And look at that. He gets his first postseason save today of his career against a San Diego Padres team that almost won their division over the Los Angeles Dodgers. And we have a 1-0 lead over the Padres in the wild card game and are one step closer to advancing in the playoffs largely because of him.
Incredible stuff. I will say this. I recall I attended a game back in, I believe it was April still. And I still recall seeing a extend Brad Keller sign. And son of a bitch, if that didn't fucking age well.
Oh my gosh, he's been amazing, man.
He's been masterful for this Cubs team down the stretch. It's been really cool to see. Earlier question from Jeremiah: could Cade Horton make it back in time later in the DS? Yes, in theory he can.
I think I saw the earliest that he could possibly come back is Game 5 of the NLDS. Does that mean he'll be ready? It remains to be seen because he's got a freaking broken rib. But
yeah. It would be some. I believe he played football for 1 year at OU.
Wasn't he a quarterback?
I think he was a quarterback. So if that's the case, tough son of a bitch. I believe in him to come back and get it done. But we'll have to wait and see though, as we still got more to get to. But Wrigley was electric, as Jeremiah noted today. The atmosphere incredible. Tyler following up here. What's up, boys? The fellas got it done. The entire bullpen stuck their nuts out on the table and said, "Here," I got to do this in my Tyler voice. Hang on. And stuck their nuts on the table and said, "Here they are. Come and get them." And they shoved. What a game. What a performance. 100% correct. And, as we've noted, Kittredge will start tomorrow as a part of their plan. Tyler with a couple more notes here. He says, we asked last night, if you haven't listened to that episode yet, be sure to go check out last night's Cubs on Tap to get you. It might get you a little fired up for even game 2 yet, even though game 1 is already in the books. But he asked last night, does Danny P get a meaningful inning in this game? Does he come in the clutch spot? And by God, he did. And by God, he did. He show out. Yes, he did. And he said, did not even think, however, as much as we talked about the Padres bullpen being a factor, I didn't think about the fact that the Shadows would play today. So, yeah, I mean, incredible call out, Rich. On the radio as well, I was able to catch a fair chunk of the early part of this game on the radio. It was, where are the Shadows at? Where are the Shadows at? That was a big thing even Pat and Ron were talking about because of just what a difference that makes. You think the MLB thought about that when they scheduled a 2:08 game at Wrigley Field, that the shadows would be a fucking nightmare?
Probably not.
Probably not,
I doubt it.
because Rob Manfred doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But Rich, I mean, the pitching was great today, but we have to talk about the Cubs offense.
Yeah.
3 runs scored. 2 of them come from back-to-back homers from Seiya Suzuki and Carson Kelly. Then they scrape across kind of a gritty your ball's on some sandpaper type run in the 8th with a sac fly from none other than Nico Horner, who has really turned it on in the second half.
Yeah.
And now leading into the playoffs for this Cubs team, was in the race for the batting title in the NL. And he's the Cubs hits leader from this season. Probably the guy you wanted up in that situation.
Oh, yeah.
Think about walking Michael Busch to get to Nico Horner.
To get to the guy who on the team has the best batting average with runners in scoring position.
Crazy.
You walk Michael Busch. I mean, granted, Michael Busch was also hot in the last week, so I kind of get it. And it was a righty-lefty matchup, and Nico Horner's a righty-righty, but still, it's a little crazy because Nico Horner is clutch as hell, and he's a badass. And yeah, no, to your point though, that inning, got kicked off by Dansby Swanson, RBI or not RBI, but a single, and Matt Shaw sack bunt, the intentional walk to Busch. Nico Horner gets the sack fly, and going into the 9th inning, a 3-1 lead looks like insurmountably better than a 2-1 lead. So that was a huge insurance run for sure. Credit to Dansby Swanson for kicking it off. He had an amazing game today, but it was also just a little bit more satisfying to see that inning happen against Jeremiah Estrada, who is a former Cub who the team let go. They tried to sneak him through the waivers a couple years back, and the Padres picked him up, and he turned into this like consistent 100 strikeout reliever for the Padres. And he talked a lot of shit about the Cubs after he left. So it was just a little sweet to see that happen to him. He also had a wild pitch in this inning that put Dansby Swanson on third base too. So sucks to suck. I don't know.
It does. You remember those things when the situations come to play down the road, right? And it's kind of that billboard, the bulletin board material that you keep in the back pocket when you need to get fired up. I do quickly, Rich, want to go down the Dansby Swanson rabbit hole today because you wanted to talk in more depth about him, as do I. This is the type of reason why you pay Dansby Swanson $177 million.
Yeah.
It's because of being battle tested as a part of those Braves and having won a World Series as largely an underdog team, right? That 2021 Atlanta team was not pegged to win the World Series that year. And they put it together when they needed to most, and they got a huge W. Yes, maybe he's going to strike out. Maybe he's not going to, be as proficient with the bat as people would like him to be for the amount of money he's being paid. But you paid him for the leadership. You paid him for just the defensive, the stellar defensive play, right? The play with Bogarts on third to keep the ball in the infield, which would have been an RBI hit, which would have been a 2-0 game. The over the shoulder catch to help the Cubs get bailed out of a 4th inning opportunity from the San Diego Padres. And then you mentioned the single to get it going in the 8th inning. Really nice base running. Even if that throw was online, I think he's still safe. It didn't matter. He got a great jump. You could see him digging for the plate. And he gets there no problem, even though Jackson Merrill's coming up firing. Just spectacular work from Dansby Swanson. He was special in this game in ways that maybe you won't recall on the box score, right? Unless you actually watch the game.
Yeah, 100%.
But this is why you pay him all that money.
The Cubs probably don't win this game without Dansby Swanson, right? Like the 2nd inning, Xander Bogaerts is sitting at third base, and Dansby Swanson makes an incredible diving stop and looks him back and gets the out. And then even the last ground out in that inning, it was kind of like a chopper over Matthew Boyd's head. It wasn't an easy play either. honestly. But Swanson made it look easy because he kind of just does that sometimes because he's just like a perennial Gold Glover. To your point, like one of the many reasons you paid him $177 million. So, and then obviously that pop up that Machado hit, or Machado was on third base. I forgot who hit the ball, but just an incredible play. Like definitely saved a run because Machado wasn't expecting him to catch the ball clearly. Otherwise he would have tagged up. And yeah, one of the things that comes to mind when you're mentioning all this stuff about Dansby Swanson and his leadership and things like that is like, I think it was last year's trade deadline when the Cubs were kind of on the fence of competing or like making the playoffs or making a playoff run or whatever. And it came out that he kind of like told Jed Hoyer in the front office, like, you either are an organization with a winning mentality or you're not. So why are we screwing around with buying and selling if we're this close? Just buy and show the team that you're ready to buy. I think we only ended up getting like Jamer Candelario or something, and the season went to shit anyway. But still, it's the principle of having a guy like that in your clubhouse to be there for those tough times. And now he's here leading the team into a postseason, and look at what he's doing. Like he basically won them a game today on deep with his defense, with his base running, and by getting that clutch single in the 8th inning to kick off that rally. So Dansby Swanson gets all the credit today.
Yeah, it's why he's a 4+ F4 player every single year. Like those guys are still important, despite maybe the bat not being, as pretty as people want it to be on the back of a baseball card. Yeah. I agree with you too. I think on the sense of Swanson, that I think is the real, probably the thing that separated him the most from all those other free agents in that class when he signed, is he kind of had that commanding presence about him. You could feel that in the press conference, talking to I have cousins that live in Atlanta. So between them and some of their friends that I've gotten to know, it was reaching out and just being like, all right, I know who Dansby Swanson is, but like, tell me about the player. Every single one of them was sad to see him go. They're just like, that guy is just the roots, the backbone, just he is the culture type player.
Yeah, he's like a field commander,
He is.
Like he just has that about him. And yeah, to your point, like when you look at the other guys in that class, it's like, yeah, Carlos Correa was kind of a superstar at the time and was like this like kind of more analytical mind. Like I remember reading something, some athletic article, I think, like when he went to the Twins, he really upgraded the entire organization's view on like using analytics and brought a lot of those tools to the from the Astros to the Twins, which that's great. Really didn't fit the mold of what the Cubs needed at the time.
Right.
The only guy that the guy that I truly wanted was Trey Turner, because he can be like a superstar level player, but does he have that same field commander mentality? I don't think so. Like the Cubs just needed somebody like that who can be a backbone of a culture, and they got it like that. And I'm more than happy that he's on the Chicago Cubs right now.
I am in agreement with you there. I will stand on that business until the day he's no longer a Cub. Swanson's worth the money, and it's because of the stuff that you can't measure with stats and numbers, right? There's more to sports than just the statistics and what it means. While we're still on the topic of players that play the field, Rich, I had a thought about the Carson Kelly home run, and I think it's something. So Jeremiah with a great point here too. His hair, Dansby Swanson's hair has some super magic.
That's
aura.
The secret. Yeah, right? That's the secret sauce to his entire success as a Major League Baseball player, is having the flow coming out the back of his baseball cap.
The secret sauce, the Dansby Swanson secret sauce, is the hair. But on the point of Kelly's homer, and even really now that I'm thinking about it, Seiya Suzuki's, because both of those players took the prior at bat and brought what they learned about Nick Pivetta into the next at bat. And what I mean by that is, like on Carson Kelly's, he strikes out on a high heater, outer half of the plate, just can't catch up to it. And he's like, I'll put that one bookmarked in the back of my head for later. Sure as shit, the same pitch is what Pivetta throws, and Carson Kelly goes, "You're not beating me again," and fucking smokes it into the bleachers.
I'm not getting underneath that one, big dog.
Yeah, we're mashing this one, and even Seiya Suzuki too. Like he had Pivetta threw him some low pitches, and he kind of got a little piece of one, but wasn't totally there. And then the second time around, it comes inside, and he's like, "Oh, this." As Pat Hughes beautifully put it, or I believe it was Ron Cooper, just a 2-iron straight into the bleachers for Seiya Suzuki
God, I love
on
him.
his swing. So I just think again, the maybe the difference of what it feels like from Cubs teams of the past is just like when the moment is the biggest, to take that information in the moment and say, I'm going to bookmark that one because we know what Pivetta throws and we know what he's got. There's a good chance I might see that again. And son of a bitch, they both did, and they're able to go back to back. And you mentioned, right? Completely flip the momentum on its head.
Oh,
We
yeah.
talked about this in the pre-show, folks. Completely flip the momentum on its head of just the Cubs. It felt like they seemingly controlled the rest of this game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that brought the crowd to life and brought them really into the equation, which probably played a major factor in the 8th inning when Jeremiah Estrada was out there. So, yeah, those back-to-back home runs to take the lead specifically, too, like that was a big part of it. Yeah, I agree completely. It was a momentum shifter, and Seiya Suzuki's home run was like a big dog home run. That was like a 424-foot homer. I mean, talk about just taking the momentum and not giving it back. So yeah, that was a big inning. And I'm really glad too they were able to get to Nick Pivetta before and get the lead before getting to the Padres bullpen as well. I think that was a big part of this as well. Because at the end of the day, the Padres do have a really good bullpen, and if they had the lead when they gave the ball to the bullpen, it could have been a different story. So
definitely
massive, massive home runs from Seiya Suzuki and Carson Kelly today.
Yep, timed perfectly. Pavetta's pitch count was up in the 70s at that point. You knew he was probably done after 5 just because of the nature of the postseason. So, well said, Rich. You got to get ahead of that bullpen, and they were able to do so in that moment. A quick note here from Hank. He says, "I could feel the intensity of the Wrigley crowd through the radio while at work today." I agree. You could hear the volume and the bass. The bass was a little different than a regular season game today for the Wrigley faithful. But quickly, Rich, back to Seiya Suzuki. This comes from our indirect friends over at Just Baseball, Jack McMullen, good friend of the show. Seiya Suzuki is the first player in Major League history to homer in his last 4 regular season games and his first postseason game.
What are the odds on Seiya Suzuki to hit a home run tomorrow?
Whatever it is, we might be betting it.
Yeah, that
because
sounds like
as Jeremiah said here, 112 mile per hour, 20-degree piss missile. Man, it was. I'll tell you, power means more than anything in the postseason when you can get it, especially in those moments because of how it can shift the momentum. Cubs did a beautiful thing with some 5th inning runs and obviously getting the run later on.
Little plus 560 on that. That's calling my name.
Do we have? Hold on, sir. We're gonna do some on the air research here.
Ron's gonna check the funds in his FanDuel, see if he's got.
Oh no, we're checking what the wind's going to be doing tomorrow. The wind is going to be blowing toward the third baseline. So yeah, I feel okay about Seiya Suzuki hitting the homer tomorrow. Might be joining you on that with a cup of 2 trees, and we'll see what happens there. Rich, any other thoughts about this game, man? Like, playoff wins are cool, but now it's like I'm left wanting more, and I want them to win tomorrow and
100%.
just lock it down and give your team some rest going into, I believe, the first game would be Saturday.
I think so. So, the only thing else that I wanted to say is like I think it's interesting that Andrew Kittredge is opening tomorrow. We can just go into tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's just go right into the preview.
Because I do really like their chances, right? We have the momentum. We're up a game. Dylan Cease versus Andrew Kittredge. Kittredge will obviously be used as an opener. to get the top of the order of the Padres out, which today was Fernando Tatis, Luis Ariz, and Machado, I believe.
Mhm.
And then the plan will probably be to go to Shota Imanaga. Jesse Rogers has reported as much on Twitter, and Matthew Boyd also said that Shota Imanaga will be on the mound tomorrow, which I don't know if he was supposed to say that or not, but he told Elisa Menaker that after the game today. So I like this because the Cubs did well against Dylan Cease earlier in the season in April. They tagged him for 7 hits, 2 earned runs, and a walk. He also struck out 6, but that's whatever. He also has a very bad road ERA of 5.58 and a 1.38 WHIP at Wrigley Field in front of a postseason crowd. I on the road, I really like the Cubs' chances. So everything's kind of coming together to hopefully get to Dylan Cease before, and like today, the plan should be the same: get runs on the board and the lead before the Padres go to their bullpen. That will be the key to success tomorrow, in my opinion. And the key for Shota is to keep the ball in the yard. He can't give up home runs. And if they need to be solo home runs. Hopefully not too many. But yeah, that's kind of how I see tomorrow's game. Obviously, the Cubs are very familiar with Dylan Cease. They drafted him, and he was a top pitching prospect in the organization. They've seen him a bunch when he was with the White Sox, and they've seen him this year as well. So I don't know. I kind of have a really good feeling about it. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Ron?
I completely agree. I thought you put it masterfully in our pre-show discussions that the Cubs are very clearly playing chess. They've identified everywhere that they want to use what pitchers for both of these games, truthfully. I think that's kind of how I felt about today's game. They knew they wanted to get Matthew Boyd into probably the 5th inning, and then they were turning to Daniel Palencia, and they knew that. And then they knew they were going to Pomerantz. Then they knew they were going to Kittredge, and then they knew they were going to Keller if they had the lead, or they had a plan if they were trailing and who they needed to use. I firmly believe they have the same thing in check for tomorrow. Get Kittredge out there for the first 3. He matches up well with the right-handed power at the top, just like you said. And then you turn to Shota. Let Shota get into a rhythm and hopefully limit the damage. And ideally, if that all goes well and the Cubs are able to get to Cease early, we're going to see Caleb Thielbar. When do we see him? Right?
Yeah.
How many of these other arms are we going to be? When are we going to see them? The Cubs have that figured out, and it's kind of cool to see. Right? It's kind of cool to see I feel like this is the first time that the Craig Counsell difference is really on maybe full display.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
completely.
not just behind the scenes stuff right now. It's very at the forefront. Strategy is everything right now that they're using.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was looking at the Padres splits against lefties as well. They're not great. They're very middle of the pack, just generally this year overall. But yeah, no, that's a really good point. We always talk about how Craig Counsell was a masterful bullpen manipulator when he was with the Milwaukee Brewers, right? And this year, you've kind of seen that, right? I think it was more so behind the scenes of identifying guys like Brad Keller and Drew Pomerantz, whether that be with Jed Hoyer and Tyler Zombro is probably a big part of all this, and Craig Counsell as well. And now it's Counsell has the toys and the tools, and it's here's what the plan is. You can tell, even in his press conferences, he just kind of has this slyness about him. He's yeah, we know, we got, they asked him who's starting the game tomorrow. He's we got some ideas. He's just he knows exactly what he's gonna do. So yeah, I think Shota. I don't know who's what the plan is after that. Will we see Thielbar? Probably. Will Palencia be available? That's a big question. But I mean, Kittredge is obviously available after today, so I don't know. All bets are off in the playoffs. You never know what's going to happen. And on the flip side too, you could see anybody on the Padres pitching staff tomorrow because it's do or die for them. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Michael King, who used to be a relief pitcher, come out of the bullpen. Yu Darvish, it could be anybody. Like
It really
Mason
could.
Miller is probably going to pitch tomorrow. Like he's a psycho, and he throws 103-mile-an-hour cutters. Like he's 100% going to pitch tomorrow. They didn't use their closer today, Robert Suarez, so it's going to be crazy. We could see some crazy shit tomorrow.
And I think that to me is why I was always in the mindset for a long time, Rich, of like, you need a length in the MLB playoffs to mirror the season because that's what every other league does, right? Like you and I were talking just before the show about the hockey playoffs in the NHL and how it's like kind of a third of the season, and the NBA is pretty close to that. And then the NFL is at least a quarter of the season is the postseason. Baseball's like an eighth.
Yeah.
We kind of did the rough math on it. It's like it's
Yeah.
somewhere between a seventh and an eighth.
I mean, it's a sixth only if you make it to the World Series. Yeah.
Right. So it is all or nothing. And when you put baseball in an all or nothing scale,
Yeah.
it's really fucking fun. And like I that's why people love playoff baseball, because it is anybody's available. You got to just get the next win. It's not a marathon anymore. It's fucking one of the craziest short sprints in sports. You just got to get it done. And man, I can't wait. I'm excited for the crazy shit that's probably going to happen tomorrow, because that's baseball and that's what makes it cool. A couple notes here from our comment section. Darren said he's manifesting a Tucker homer tomorrow. It says Tucker going deep tomorrow. Hey, ... Hey, I'm manifesting here. We'll take manifestation. Jeremiah says he senses a Javier Assad legacy outing brewing in the future for some reason. Hopefully that happens, because that would mean the Cubs are in the next round. I don't think he's on the wild card roster. And then Jeremiah also says, rip the Reds, by the way. I haven't seen that score. I know Boston
Dodgers
won today. The Tigers won today. Dodgers kicking the shit out of the Reds.
Yeah, they're up 5-0. Shohei Ohtani hit a 117-mile-an-hour home run exit velocity.
Jesus.
That was talk about piss missiles. That's crazy.
He saw Sayas 112-mile-per-hour piss missile earlier and said, I could do better than that.
Yeah, only 100-mile-an-hour fastball from Hunter Green, just getting absolutely nuked into
the opposite way.
Yeah.
Unreal
Crazy.
Stuff. Rich, any other thoughts though about game 2? Kind of where your mindset is as a fan and what you'll be watching for tomorrow before Cubbies are back in action.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I think the key to a victory tomorrow is just getting to Dylan Cease early and making sure you have a lead before the Padres bullpen gets in there. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about, like that somebody just mentioned Javier Assad in the comments. Yeah, I think it was kind of weird that they used Javier Assad this weekend on Sunday, I think it was, because that game didn't matter. And then they're like, all right, well, we'll just have Javier Assad throw 80 pitches. I'm like, if I were a baseball manager, I would have just had Jordan Wicks throw that entire game, even if he gave up 20 earned runs or whatever, or even call up Ben Brown to pitch half the game or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of weird that Javier Assad is not on the wild card roster, but that doesn't mean he can't be added to the roster after we advance, knock on wood. But yeah, he is unavailable till at least Thursday. So that's that.
I feel like there was a little bit of intention in that of like, hey, Javi, stay warm. We don't need you for this one, but be ready for the next one.
Yeah, and you still have Aaron Savale and Colin Ray in the bullpen as long relief options. Hopefully you don't need them, but that is another thing to think about too. After Shota Imanaga pitches, like depending on how far it goes, it's like you still have guys who can go long relief if you need to. Obviously don't want to, but that would probably mean you're not in a good spot. But it's just something to think about. They do have those fresh arms as well.
Definitely. Most definitely. It's the beautiful complications of the baseball playoffs and being able to adjust your roster on a series by series basis. A quick note from Hank here. He says, trying not to get ahead of myself, but the Saturday night could be crazy at Wrigley North. I will add to that really quick, just in the sense of, for those that are curious, the DSs do all begin on Saturday. All 4 divisional series begin that day. However, on that following Sunday, just the 2 AL series will be played, and then Monday will be the 2 NL series. So whoever wins this series between the Cubs and Padres, if you're the Cubs, you potentially get 2 days off going into Saturday. If you're the Padres, if you advance, you're only going to get one, but you don't have to then play the next day. So I'm sure that's something that all these NL teams are looking at, going, "Son of a bitch, we can potentially have 3 off days and only play one game in 4 days." That could be really beneficial for a couple of these teams. So just something to keep an eye on. And then they pretty much alternate until Wednesday, where all 4 will be played again. It'll be a game 4 if necessary for the ALs, and game 3 for the NL series as we stand. On Wednesday, it's the same exact structure as Tuesday. So the Cubs will once again play in that second slot. It's 2 o'clock, 2:08 to be exact game. This time it will be on ABC, not ESPN. Game 2 of that Tigers and Cleveland series will be on ESPN. That will kick off at 12:08 Central Standard. Oh, we're not in Standard yet. Still daylight time, Central Daylight Time. And then followed up by Boston, New York, and of course, LA and Cincy. So that's what's on the docket. Cubs are back on at 2:08 on Wednesday, October 1st. We've officially made it to October baseball.
Best month
Yes,
for a variety
October
of reasons.
is the best month for sports.
Let's get that dub tomorrow, because that means the Cubs would have a date with Freddie Peralta in Milwaukee on my birthday on Saturday. Best month is October.
Yes.
Postseason baseball, basketball starts up again, hockey starts up again. You got football in full swing, and my birthday and Halloween. You got all kinds of good stuff, all kinds of good shit.
Don't forget the bonfires and the weather change and
sweater weather. It's a beautiful month. It's beautiful.
I'm a sucker for October, man. I am a sucker for October, not just for sports, but for everything that's included. So I'm right there with you, my friend. Hopefully the Cubs take home a victory on Wednesday, and Cubs on Tap will be back after the game tomorrow, no matter the outcome, talking about what is to follow. Until then, we encourage all of you, if you are not already, follow Cubs on Tap over at Cubbies on Tap on the socials. You can find all the great co-hosts of Cubs on Tap in the podcast descriptions as well. Like, subscribe, rate, the whole 9 with us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Be also sure to head over to YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the bell button for On Tap Sportsnet's YouTube channel. You'll know when we go live and all of our other great shows live here at On Tap Sportsnet, ontapsportsnet.com, at On Tap Sportsnet on the socials. The On Tap Sports Net, we're going to check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. I'll tell you what's on tap in Chicago sports. Rich, we got game 2, NL Wildcard Series at Wrigley Field, 2:08 Central Time start on Wednesday. It will be Andrew Kittredge getting the start against Dylan Cease. From myself, from Mr. Rich Eberwein, Cubs win a playoff game, baby. One more win to go to advance to the divisional series. What do you say, Rich? Let's go Cubbies.
Let's go Cubbies, and fuck the Padres.